Hi, everyone. We're going to give people a minute or so before we get started. All right, it's 12:02, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Paige Tackett. I am a co-chair of the membership committee. I joined DAYL in 2012, so I'm almost middle-aged and not a young lawyer anymore. I moved to Dallas in 2012 from Missouri when I graduated law school and heard about DAYL, I'm sure like you have, and just decided to show up at a social and learn more about it. So we're thrilled to have you all here today. You all obviously are members and now are looking for ways to get more involved. So we hope that that's what you'll take away from today's presentation. We have three great panel presenters here today. We've got Nicole Munoz, Haley Jones, and Megan McKinnon. And I also have co-chair of the membership committee, Stephen Hushka, here today to help moderate that panel. So before we get started with the panel, I just want to give you all an overview of how DAYL functions and what DAYL involvement looks like generally. We function through committees. We have over 30 committees in three primary umbrellas. We have personal enrichment, professional development, and community service. And underneath each of those different categories are a number of different committees. And after today's presentation, first you'll hear about some of them during today's presentation. After the presentation, you will get a committee description sheet that will list all of our committees with a brief description. You can also find information about the specific committees on our website. And so, like I said, we've got 30 plus committees. Each committee operates differently depending on what its purpose is, what kind of programming it puts together, and other events that they plan and hold. So they're all very different. We have a committee for everyone. I assure you, you'll find your place. But what they do have in common is every committee has a group of co-chairs who are kind of leading the committees, and then they have committee members. And they all operate through emails on a committee listserv. It's not uncommon for people to come and go from committees. So it will not be weird at all for you to just show up and start coming to meetings and meeting people. We would love to see your faces after today's presentation. And I assure you, we are not cliquey. It would be great to have you here. So that's just a little bit about how it functions. To sign up, you can sign up today. We'll give you a sign-up sheet. You can also email Sherry through our website. You can email me or anybody on the membership committee. And what signing up does is it just gets you on that email listserv I was telling you about. You're not immediately going to get an assignment or a project that requires 30 hours of your time. It's no pressure. It's just, you're going to start getting emails and you can read them. And I can tell you, me personally, I'm probably signed up for 7 or 8 different committee listservs just because I'm interested in those committees and what they're doing. I don't necessarily participate on those committees regularly. I probably am involved with 2 or 3 regularly, but I know what several others are doing in case I am interested in something that they're up to, or have some kind of connection that they could utilize for a project or event. So sign up for as many as you want, learn about what they're doing. And then from there, you just show up to a committee meeting. That's it. And especially in the Zoom era we're living in, it's really easy. You don't have to leave the office to go to, the BLO at lunch. You can just hop on Zoom and just listen. There's no pressure to participate. I can assure you, it's very common for the co-chairs to just lead the committee meetings and the committee members just to sit there and listen. So just go to a couple, see what you like. If you don't like a committee, or you think that's just too time intensive or not really what you're after with your free time, feel free to opt out and look for another committee. There's no pressure at all. But if you do find a place you like, raise your hand. That's really what DAYL involvement looks like. And that looked like for me, starting back in 2012, I went to a social, signed up for the membership committee, and just raised my hand to help. And from there, I joined the leadership class, and I was on the board of directors for several years, and have just had such a deep, meaningful experience with DAYL that's truly changed my life. It's made me a better person. It's made me a better lawyer, and it's given me a family of colleagues who I truly love and respect and rely on regularly. So that's a quick intro about DAYL and really what it looks like. There's no set path. It really is just saying, hey, I'm interested in learning more about the social committee, or I'd like to help volunteer put together a CLE, and it just starts from there. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Stephen, who is going to lead our panel discussion today. Stephen, I guess I should have said what I do. I'm a litigator. I work at Zell, not to be confused with Zell Pay. We're different. I represent insurance companies in complex commercial disputes. And I've been doing that. I've been at Zell for about 3 years now. So that's the other beauty of DAYL too. You get to meet all these people in all these different practice areas and lawyers who will become your referral network very quickly. So with that in mind, Stephen, my former coworker, my co-chair, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks for that introduction, Paige, and thank you all for coming today. A big takeaway from today's panel should be that DAYL offers a wealth of opportunities for you to get involved. And we have a fantastic group of members here to talk about how they got involved, as well as the benefits associated with their involvement. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and meet our panelists. We can start with what's the left side of my screen, and hopefully it's the left side of your screen as well. We have Nicole Munoz. Nicole, why don't you tell me a little bit about your practice and how and why you got involved in DAYL?
Sure. So I am an associate at a firm called Figueres & Davenport. We are a boutique litigation firm in downtown Dallas. We specialize in health insurance litigation, commercial litigation, business and employment litigation, just everything litigation. So we do, I really refer out a lot of my transactional business to DAYL members, just like Paige said, great referral network. So that's where I work and what I do. What was that second part of that question?
How and why you got involved in DAYL?
Okay. Yeah, great questions. So I got involved in DAYL at a very early time. I think I was a 1L in DAYL. So my first few years, I wasn't even a lawyer yet. I was I served on the DAYL board of directors as the law student liaison for my law school. So the way the board of directors works is that it has 3 law student liaisons. So I got to do that my 3L year. By the time I finished law school, I knew people like Paige, people like some of our other executive members, really a lot of people that are no longer in DAYL anymore, just because of how time flies. So as a law student, DAYL was just invaluable to meet people and to help me learn what area of law I wanted to go into. And then as I graduated and entered the legal profession, I joined the board of directors as an attorney member and now am this year's vice president. So I've been involved in the Law Student Assistance Committee. I'm the chair of the Bolton Ball Committee, animal welfare and others. I like Paige. I think I'm on 7 or 8 different committees technically, and I just like knowing what's going on. And so if you're on the listserv, you get the updates. So that's how I got involved, and that's what I do now.
Awesome. Haley, why don't you tell me a little bit about your practice and what brought you to DAYL?
Sure, thanks. Hi, everyone. My name's Haley Jones. I am a trial and appellate attorney practicing commercial litigation at a boutique law firm also in downtown like Nicole, Crawford, Wishnu, and Lang. I've been here 3 years, and we handle litigation of all species at every stage procedurally. So if you ever have random procedural appellate questions, I can answer those. Happy to help. Those are my favorite. I got involved with DAYL my first year out of law school. I was clerking at the Dallas Court of Appeals with Justice Doug Lang, and he is a former DBA president, was very involved in the Young Lawyers Association when he was coming up, although at the time he was coming up, it was not called DAYL, it was called something else. And he really encouraged me to get involved. And so I did. I joined the Judicial Internship Committee. that I am still a member of, and started there and caught the bug. Like Paige said, I met a lot of friends who were resources to me, developed a network kind of immediately that was sort of fundamental in developing my skill set, my sanity as a young lawyer. And so I've just stayed involved. I'm currently serving as the treasurer of the DAYL. So I'm on the executive board with Nicole. And I, like Paige and Nicole, I'm on several committees, and I stay involved with several committees because I'm the treasurer and I wear that executive hat. I'm not necessarily involved in the day-to-day anymore of the committees and doing the day-to-day work. But I do like to be involved and know generally what the committees are doing and provide input that's helpful where I can. So those committees that I'm either involved in now or have been involved in are the DAYL Judicial Internship Committee, the Trial Skills Bootcamp Committee, the Women's Mentoring Circles Committee. I currently chair the Finance Committee as the treasurer. There's the Solo and Small Firm Committee. So there's a bunch, like Paige and Nicole have said. Once you catch the bug, it's easy to just get involved in a number of different things. So I hope that you will leave this session today having caught the bug, having been inspired to join at least one committee and get more involved.
Very, very cool. And to Haley's right, we've got Megan McKinnon. Megan, same question. Can you tell me a little bit about your practice and what brought you to the DOIL?
Sure, yeah. My name is Megan McKinnon. I'm at Catton. I am in the commercial litigation department. I'm fairly new there, but I've been practicing, graduated in 16. I think unlike Nicole, I did not start with the DAYL in law school. It probably took me about a year to get started. And I think what happened is I just signed up to get onto the listservs. And one of the first committees that I went to was the Pro Bono Partners Committee. I was looking for a way to give back. And at that time, Charlie Gearing, who was, I think, the vice president, soon to be president, was on the committee. And if you know him, he's been incredibly involved, and he kind of encouraged me to look at some other committees. And so kind of like everyone said, I started from there and then got involved in the Aid to the Homeless Committee, the membership committee, the leadership class, the Women's Mentoring Circles Committee, Generation Generosity, the kickball team. And from there, just kind of just enjoyed getting to know other young lawyers and finding other ways to help out, whether it's, community service or whether it's ethics, CLE, anything. So that's kind of what I guess my journey has been since I got involved.
Absolutely. And so everyone's already kind of heard you guys talk about a lot of the committees that you're involved in, but I want to talk about them a little bit more specifically so we can provide some context on what you've done. So let's go back to you, Nicole. What DOL committees have you worked on specifically, and what do those committees do?
So the one that jumps out at me is probably the one that I do the most work with, and that is the Bolt and Ball Committee. And so for those of you that have been around DAYL for probably several years, you'll probably remember it used to be called the DAYL Charity Ball Committee. It started out as, I think it was maybe the 2014 leadership class project. And for those of you guys familiar with the leadership class, that's a great way to get involved. DOIL takes about, I think, 30 to 40 young lawyers every year, and you do a class project. So the Bolt and Ball started out as the 2014 leadership class project. They put on an amazing, I think Stephen and I were there at that first year in 2014. They put on an amazing gala and to raise money for charity. Over the years, since 2014, it has grown into such a staple event in Dallas, I think, and such a staple event in the Dallas legal community. It's usually every fall. It's a big gala. We usually have between 350 to 450 people there. It's kind of like a Barrister's Ball 2.0, but it's really expanded to beyond the legal community. We have a lot of Dallas young professionals that are non-legal professionals attend, and we've done a great job, I think, branching out to non-lawyers, because as lawyers, it's great to network with, people that aren't us, right? So we didn't have it last year, unfortunately, because of COVID. We currently have it on the books for October 23rd this year. We're monitoring COVID in the situation to see if we need to pivot again. But it raises probably about anywhere between $40,000 to $50,000 for the DOL Foundation, which is our nonprofit that gives grants to really deserving charities. So putting on a big gala is what that committee primarily does. We meet usually every first Monday of the month, but yeah, we've been flexible. Sometimes we'll meet the second or third Monday, depending on things. Right now, we are waiting to see if we're going to put on in-person events, maybe towards the middle end of the year. And we might be putting on a big fundraising kickoff event, quasi in-person in June. We'll see.
Perfect. And I think you're also pretty involved in our women's mentoring circles. Is that correct?
Yes. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to just go one and popcorn around or all of them. Yes, I'm happy to. So I am also involved in the women's mentoring circles, not necessarily as a committee co-chair, but as a participant. And I've been a participant. I think the DAYL, it's a committee that's shared with the Dallas Women Lawyers Association and DAYL. We've come together to form this program. I believe it was Stephanie Gaz's project when she was president, I think in 2016. So it's been around since about then. And it's a great program for women lawyers, for young lawyers and seasoned lawyers to get together as mentors and mentees. You're usually put together in a group of, I don't know, Paige, I would say 8 to 10 lawyers, half mentors, half mentees. There are structured meetings that, usually they used to be at the BELO. During COVID, we've been doing this at, via Zoom. And so there's usually about 4 big events where everybody, and if I were to guess how many participants are in the women mentoring circles, I mean, it's got to be at least 100. Women, both from the young lawyer side and from the seasoned Dallas Women Lawyers Association side. And then you have smaller group meetings, probably once a month. Like my group is, I think, meeting next week for some sort of COVID cautious in-person event. So really looking forward to meeting those ladies in person. So that's the mentoring circles. It's great because it provides you with an opportunity to get mentors and mentees. And I apologize for the dogs barking in the background. I acknowledge that. So we usually take applicants every January, and I believe we've already had 2 meetings thus far. So if you are not involved in the program yet, wait for next year and apply. It's great. Would you like me to talk about the others as well?
Sure. Talk about all the committees that you want to talk about.
Okay. So CLE committee is next. I think I joined the CLE committee my first year to law school. I'm not a co-chair necessarily. I'm more of an involved committee member at this point, which is pretty common. It's okay, as I think Paige said, you can get involved in some committees and rotate off and come back. Just because you sign up for one doesn't mean we're going to hold you to that committee for the end of your young lawyer days. So the CLE committee puts on a CLE event about once a month. They meet once a month with a wide range of topics, from transactional work to IP work, litigation, appellate stuff. I mean, it's really great, and it's free for DOL members, which is what I always tell. If you're looking for CLE, it's a great way to get your CLE without having to stress about paying for it. Those Texas bar CLEs on the state bar website, when I look at those, I'm a little overwhelmed sometimes, but the CLE committee puts on great programs relevant for young lawyers at a great price of it's included in your membership dues. So the last committee that I wanted to mention, I'm involved in others, is the social committee. And as you can imagine, social committees had to pivot a little bit over the past year. Normally we have a social once a month. Last Thursday of the month were our social days. And I think our last in-person social was in February last year at, was it Mesomaya? And the reason I know that is because Sherry, I still have the box with with everyone's name cards in them. I looked at that yesterday. I was supposed to return that to you last March. But it was they're usually very well attended events. Usually have about 70 to 100 people. I feel like usually the first quarter of the year, we have about 100 because it's everyone's New Year's resolution to get involved. And then like throughout the year, it's usually around 70 people. Usually once a month at different restaurants or venues around Dallas, usually kind of around the downtown, uptown area, because that's where a lot of people work. And gosh, they're so fun to get to know, young lawyers. And, we have people from just the sister bars and the DBA come as well. Great way to meet people. So they've been having Zoom socials. They had them in 2020, really well attended. I think right now they're waiting to see what we decide as a board. And I guess I'll mention this as the vice president of DAYL. The board of directors has been monitoring COVID very closely over the past year, but specifically the last couple of months, we've been asked by members, hey, when are we going to have in-person events again? And we hear you. We're actually discussing that issue at next week's board meeting. And, we're continuing to monitor it. Some of us think that we might have in-person events by summer, but I don't want to make any promises. But the social committee has been doing a great job doing Zoom socials. So stay tuned to see what the social committee does next.
Absolutely. I think we're all ready to have in-person events again. So Haley, you started to talk a little bit about the committees that you're involved in, and I'll try and list off a couple of them, but forgive me if I forget a couple that you mentioned previously, because as you mentioned, you're really involved. You caught the bug early, I think is what you said. So, but I think you mentioned that you were involved in trial skills and deals boot camp, judiciary committee, lawyers promoting diversity, freedom run, among several others. Can you tell me a little bit about the work that you do on those committees and maybe a little bit about what the time commitment is?
Sure. So first, every committee is going to be a little different in terms of how it operates on a day-to-day and what the time commitment is. I think if you're concerned about the time commitment, my best advice is don't be. Just as Paige said, sign up. All you're doing when you get on a committee listserv is committing to receive emails. And if you want to get involved, there will be certainly opportunities to do that, to take on more of a leadership role and to volunteer for tasks that need to be done. So, but keep in mind that committees that plan events, those committees tend to have more of a day-to-day involvement and more of a day-to-day need than committees that don't plan events. And most of the committees that I've been involved in do. So, for instance, the Judiciary Committee is sort of the liaison committee that we have to interface between the young lawyers that are members in our organization and the local, federal, and state judges. We have, as part of that committee every year, we have a social with the judges that's normally very well attended and a lot of fun too. I mean, Dallas County has phenomenal judges who are very involved in our bar, who give a lot of time and mentorship to young lawyers in Dallas. And so to be able to get to know them personally in some of these settings is great. We also do a dinner with the judiciary every year, where there's normally a panel presentation on some topic that's relevant to young lawyers. One year, Judge Lynn led a panel discussion about how young lawyers can get stand-up experience in the courtroom and what that looks like, and how to go about advocating for yourself to your partners, that you should be able to have those opportunities. And it's just a dinner where you get to meet and talk to the judges. It's always great to put a face to the name. And so that for litigators, that committee is extremely valuable. And not only going to the events, but working on the committee and being able to develop those day-to-day relationships with the judges, because you're working with them to plan events. So if you're a litigator, you want to get to know the judiciary of Dallas County, that's a great way to do it. The Trial Skills Bootcamp Committee is very much the same in that regard, in that it's a good way to get to know the local judiciary, because the Trial Skills Bootcamp offers what we call experiential learning. It's a committee that hosts, in connection with the CLE committee, the DAYL CLE committee, it hosts 2 to 3 CLE presentations a year. But in the summer, what really makes this committee special is it hosts an experiential learning opportunity. So you get a fake problem, a packet of information, a fake case, and every year it's different, but the focus of the year is some component of trial work. So you might give an opening statement or a closing argument. You might direct and cross a witness. It just depends on what the committee selects as the focus for that year's boot camp. And the judges, the local judges, are very involved in providing feedback. You essentially get notes from seasoned attorneys and local judges who preside over this mock trial and give you feedback. If you didn't do mock trial in law school, this is kind of one of your only chances as a young lawyer to work on those skills in a safe environment. It's phenomenal. Every year, the feedback that the committee gets is that the young lawyers learn so much and don't get that type of experience in their practice necessarily. So that's a great committee to get involved in, and they provide a really valuable resource to young lawyers. The DAYL Bootcamp Committee is the same. It provides the same service for transactional lawyers. I'm not a transactional lawyer, so it's hard for me to explain to you guys what happens at the DAYL Bootcamp. They typically have, like the Trial Skills Bootcamp, 2 to 3 CLEs and then an experiential component. This year, because of COVID, they've scaled back just a little. So this year they're doing 2 CLEs, and at one of those CLEs, there will be some sort of experiential learning or workshop component. That may be a mock negotiation of some kind that is shorter in duration, maybe an hour or so. But that's what the DAYL Bootcamp is working on this year. The Lawyers Promoting Diversity Committee is a phenomenal committee that does a ton of work in the community to promote inclusion of diverse lawyers. And it provides resources to our members about what diversity training looks like, what it should look like in a law firm setting or a company setting if you're in-house. And they do a ton of programming every year. I have to look at my notes here. This is from Hisham Masri, who's currently one of the co-chairs of that committee and just has done a phenomenal job leading the committee. His events that he's sent me this year are the Dinner and Dialogue event. That's an annual sort of flagship event of DAYL where you've got a speaker or a moderator who's structuring a conversation, but you're sitting at a table of 8 to 10 young lawyers typically, and you're talking about topics that are relevant to diversity in the legal community and our community at large outside of the legal community. And some really amazing discussions have come out of that event, and some really amazing programs and CLEs have come out of that event. So I would encourage you guys to attend that event because it's just very thought-provoking and well done every year. They also have a forum for aspiring law students who are diverse. They host a 1L boot camp every year and a movie night and CLEs and all sorts of programming. So that's a very active committee. And then the last one is Freedom Run. Freedom Run is super fun. It's our 5K run, a race every year. Typically, we've done it in Trinity Groves on the bridge down there. And it's there's sponsors. There typically is Whataburger and drinks after the race if you want to hang out. It happens in September. It was started, I think, 21 years ago now. Last year was supposed to be the 20th anniversary of the Freedom Run, so this year will be 21. It was started 21 years ago by our leadership class to benefit the Assist the Officers Foundation after the events of 9/11, and it's just snowballed every year. Now it's a flagship event of DAYL, this 5K that we do every year. It's a lot of fun. Even if you're not a runner, it's like a very no judgment, low stress. A lot of people come and walk with their dogs or babies in a stroller. It's very low pressure, but it's a huge event to coordinate and organize, a lot of permitting, a lot of coordination of sponsors, and it's a really important program of DAYL. So even if you can't get involved in the committee, I would encourage you to come because it's a lot of fun, and hopefully this year we'll be back in person in September. So that's it, Stephen. Those are my committees, and I'll reiterate how I started, which is the activity of every committee is going to be different. The time involvement of every committee is going to be different. But if we have over 30 committees, and there's something for everyone. So if you're interested in any of the work that DAYL is doing, the best way to just sort of jump in is get put on the listserv. And if something comes up that looks interesting, or if you've got some extra bandwidth to help plan an event, jump in when you can. That's it for me. Thanks.
And there was so much good information in that. Thank you so much, Haley. But one thing I want to just reiterate, and Haley circled back to it, is that DOL is not just for litigators. It's not just for people at firms. You know, we have opportunities for all lawyers to meet and work on projects with a wide spectrum of people. So there's a lot of opportunities to do a lot of good, irrespective of what you do or where you do it. So we'd love to have all of you involved. Without any further ado, let's move on to Megan. Megan, I think you mentioned a couple of committees. I know personally that you're involved in Aid to the Homeless and Pro Bono Partners and the membership committee. And I also know it's not explicitly a committee, but you were on a member of the DOL leadership class. I think everybody on this call is actually in the same leadership class. So if you could tell me a little bit about those committees, and then also let's talk about the leadership class a little bit, because it's a wonderful benefit that you get as a DOL member.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with the Pro Bono Partners Committee, just because that was one of the first organizations that I joined. And that was just purely, I was getting the committee emails and I decided to show up for a committee meeting. And just, like Paige said, I just kind of raised my hand and there were different tasks, decided to help out. But the Pro Bono Partners Committee, the goal of that committee is to make pro bono easier for legal professionals in Dallas. And we encourage all young lawyers to commit to at least 50 hours of pro bono a year. And the way that we do that is we partner with pro bono organizations in the Dallas area. And as a committee co-chair, you are kind of a liaison. You talk to the organizations and you figure out what pro bono events that they have and pass those on to the people that sign up for the listserv, or if we have other events, then we'll send them out to the rest of the DAYL. And so that's a great way. There's transactional and there's litigation opportunities, pro bono opportunities, but it's, we meet once a month, and it just, the amount of work that we have, it just depends every month on what events that we have coming up, if there's a panel, things like that. And so there's always room to help. You can come to the meetings and just hang out with us. Ours are breakfast meetings, actually, so it's not always at lunchtime. And honestly, I kind of prefer the breakfast meetings, start my day with that. But that's the Pro Bono Partners Committee. Also, while I'm not a co-chair of Aid to the Homeless, that is a committee that I do enjoy helping out with. Just because I enjoy kind of the one-off community events where you can show up and help and give back. And but that is an active community with a little something for anyone to help out with. And you can help out 1 month trying to set up an event, or and then wait a few months, get involved in another one. But the things that they have yearly coat drives, which they have in the fall and the winter. They also assist every year with the annual homelessness count. That provides information for Dallas to receive federal funding. Other events that they have would be hosting birthday parties for children experiencing homelessness. That's something that I've helped out with several times, and all these things are just so rewarding, and it's great to get to do these with other young lawyers in Dallas. But on top of that, they also make sandwiches and goodie bags, and they've been doing it via Zoom right now, but hopefully they can get back to being in person. I did talk to one of their co-chairs, and coming up on April the 14th, they with the Judiciary Committee, and they're hosting a CLE on the current eviction crisis and COVID's impact on it. Let's see, so another committee would be the Membership Committee with Paige and Stephen. And we are more of a behind the scenes committee where we discuss the strategy and what we can do in ways that we can promote DAYL and promote and increase DAYL memberships. And so that's most of what that committee does. And, monthly meetings, and the amount of work just varies over the year, depending on what's coming up and what tasks that we have. And so trying to get the membership up, and also trying to increase involvement for those that are members, such as events like this. And Paige, Stephen, y'all feel free to add anything else if I've missed anything. And I think the last thing, Stephen, that you mentioned was the leadership class, and which I think Nicole, Stephen, Haley, and I all did that together. But the leadership class was originally created to reach out to young lawyers who wanted to make a difference in their community and the bar. There's an application process, and they end up selecting approximately 40 individuals for the program. There's an introductory happy hour. There's a monthly, there's an overnight retreat where you get to know your class members better. And there are monthly luncheons where you get to learn about the city of Dallas, involvement opportunities in nonprofit organizations, and bar associations, and city politics. And each class, as part of the class, is a class project. And our project was Taste from the Heart, benefiting Heart House of Dallas. And this was a food and culture festival at Fair Park in Dallas. And so we celebrated countries and the culture of the children at Heart House. And it was honestly really, it was a really rewarding experience getting to kind of do it from the bottom all the way to see it through and get to know the kids. And it was honestly really great to do it with the rest of the people on this call too, and people that I call friends. And it was an awesome experience. I think I got everything that you asked, Stephen.
No, that was perfect. And you know, I like that you kind of tied together. Paige talked about the 3 missions of DOL, and a big one of them is serving the community that we're in. And we were also talking about the time commitment, right? You mentioned that on aid to the homeless, you can be a member of the committee and contribute and do everything every week, but there are also opportunities throughout DOL. There's so many good projects going on that if you just want to get out one weekend and help out in some way and contribute to your community, there are opportunities to do that. So if you're a little bit busy and your time won't commit you or allow you to commit to reoccurring meetings, please still reach out to us, and we can find kind of one-off projects or things that you can do to help your committee, and it's so rewarding when you do that. So please reach out to us if that interests you. And who knows, after your first one, you might catch the bug, like Haley was saying. So, but now we've heard a little bit about all of the committees that you guys are involved in. But I'm sure everyone in attendance wants to know specifically what the benefits are. You know, how has DOL enriched your personal or professional advice? What keeps you coming to all these personal lives? Excuse me. What keeps you coming to all these DOL events? Let's just keep the same order. Nicole, how has DOL affected your personal and professional life, and what keeps you coming?
So many ways, Stephen, so many ways. I was going to say objection, that's a compound question. But for the first part of your question, what keeps me coming? That has to be hands down the people. I have met people that, those that have become my greatest friends, colleagues, coworkers, literal coworkers, which kind of ties into what has it done for my career, my life. I mean, I met my first coworker through DAYL, Charlie Gearing. I know Charlie's name has come up a couple of times. How could we have a Get Involved luncheon and not mention Charlie? I think he's our not our immediate past president, but 2 years removed past president. So Charlie, I met him my 3 year when I was serving on the board as a student liaison, and worked on a couple small projects with him. And he remembered my name. And when his firm was hiring, when I was studying for the bar, he reached out to me, and a couple interviews later, I'm employed, which is great, when you're not a licensed attorney yet. And so then I had the opportunity to repay that favor back. I think 2 years later, when I had transitioned to my current firm, and Charlie was looking for a move. And so we became coworkers a second time, and he came down to Figueroa and Davenport. So it can impact your life from a career standpoint directly. I mean, you will meet people that maybe they may not be your coworkers, but they might refer you business, or they might help you with an issue that you can't crack on your own, on a case or a matter that you have. So the people that you meet are not only just become great friends, but invaluable resources, because I don't know about you guys, but so many times collaborating on a case or a matter can make the difference for a client. And so having a network of people that do similar things that you do is just amazing. Also, just the legal profession in general, as most of you know, is just a stressful one, and sometimes a thankless one as well. And just having a group of people that, again, do similar things like what you do, who are also lawyers, having those people to vent to. I know, Haley on this call, I don't know how many times, at least in our first couple of years of practice, I think I text, hey, partner so-and-so or client so-and-so is driving me crazy. Can we meet up for lunch? I need to bounce some ideas off you. And those lunches turned into vent sessions on my end. And so you need people like that to keep you sane, frankly, as a young lawyer, and I'm sure as a seasoned lawyer, it will continue. So DOL has just been amazing for my life, and that it's introduced me to coworkers, friends, and I'm not from Dallas. So kind of like Paige said, kind of my family away from my family. So if you're not from Dallas, you don't have any, I mean, I moved up here with no friends or family, and it's made all the difference. So probably shared more than I needed to, but that's me.
All right. Well, despite Nicole's objection, I'm going to keep on with my compound questions. Haley, how has DOL involvement affected your personal and professional life, and what keeps you coming to these events?
I like it when you overrule your wife's objections. That pleases me. Sorry, Nicole. I'll echo a lot of what Nicole said, and the reasons for my involvement have sort of evolved over time. So in the beginning, it was I wanted friends who were lawyers who would be there for me as I was coming up as a baby lawyer and going through some of the difficulties that come with that. Helen Hutton and Andy Jones were on the judicial internship committee when I joined, and they're two of my closest friends now. Helen was at my COVID wedding in Mexico dancing with Reckless Abandon. I mean, she's just someone I absolutely treasure. So is Andy, so is Nicole, so is everyone on this call. I mean, there are not very many lawyers who I've met in the DAYL who I couldn't pick up my phone, randomly call them at their desk and ask a question of them that they would mind answering. I've just developed friendships with people where they give of their time, they give of their resources, they give of their knowledge, they give me support. They confirm for me that I'm not the only person who feels like an idiot on a regular basis, and that's just a normal part of being a baby lawyer. So, that part of it was the earliest benefit that I think I recognized that kept me and got me involved really quickly. The next thing that I recognized was that, this network provides really valuable skills and resources. The Trial Skills Bootcamp for me has been huge in developing stand-up skills. I did moot court in law school, but I never did mock trial, and I'm at a firm that goes to trial all the time. And so some of the CLEs about the rules of evidence, some of the practice with documents and exhibits, with cross-examination and direct examination, where I got direct feedback, was very helpful to me. The Solo and Small Firm Committee is really a great resource to me because all of the lawyers who are involved in that committee regularly email each other for forms or for referrals or of certain work that we don't necessarily do. Just random questions, random thoughts. Adrian Bauer and I, who were both on the committee, have called each other multiple times to bounce random TCPA questions off each other. So it's just a great resource. I've got a lot of great resources in the DAYL that associates that I've worked with who are not involved in the DAYL don't have. It's just an advantage that I have that they don't have access to. And so that's been great. And then, like Nicole, the third reason I probably kept getting more and more involved is because it had a direct and profound impact on my employment track and on my recognition as a lawyer. I'm currently at Crawford, Wishnue and Lang. I was at formerly Gardier, now it's Foley. And when I transitioned from Foley to Crawford, Wishnue and Lang, there were questions about me that the partners at CWL were asking people who were involved in the bar. And there were lawyers in the bar who knew me through my work in DOIL who could say, yeah, she's a hard worker, she's a good person. She's not someone you're going to have a bad time having a beer with, things like that don't necessarily come across on your resume. So it definitely gave me an advantage, and it was what they've told me now is the reason they hired me. So that was huge. And then finally, I'll say this, when you look every year at the list of lawyers who are recognized in Dallas as rising stars, as best lawyers in Dallas, as best lawyers under 40, almost every single one of them is involved in the DAYL in some shape or form. I'm 30 years old and made the list of best lawyers under 40 this year for the first time. So did Nicole, and we're the same age. I think we're two of the only lawyers in Dallas who are as young as we are who are on that list. And I attribute it solely to the fact that I'm on the executive committee of DAYL, which gives me a lot of face time with a lot of lawyers in Dallas. It just gives you a name recognition that you're otherwise not going to have access to. So it has played a huge role in my career and allowing me to get recognition early, just because I know people. I mean, a lot of those things are popularity contests. I hate to say it, but I don't believe that my skills are that more, advanced than my contemporaries at my firm. I really think it's just name recognition. So I would say that in terms of developing a brand, DAYL gives you a platform to do that, even at a very young age. And if you use it and you spend the time, it will really pay off in dividends. And it's like anything else, you get from it what you give. So I would encourage you guys to get involved, and just enjoy it. It's great, it's fun, and you'll make a lot of friends. So that's why I'm here. That's why I keep coming back. You're gonna have to kick me out when I turn 35 or 30. I guess it's 36 now. When I turn 36, you'll have to kick me out. Paige and Stephen, sorry about that, but not sorry. Stephen, back to you.
Absolutely. And don't let Haley fool you. All those awards are hard earned and well deserved. But I do, Nicole and Haley have both talked about this, but the DOL is an organization that's dedicated to helping you be a better lawyer. But the members within the organization, those are the individuals and the people that are going to really take an interest in you and provide you with all the support you need. So I'm glad you guys both hit on that. Megan, what about you? How has DOL involvement affected your personal and professional life, and what keeps you coming to these events?
Yeah, that's, honestly, I think Haley and Nicole have kind of hit it on the head, and I'm not sure there's much more that I can add to that, but I would say first is the networking, and honestly, just getting to know others and being able to call on people if you have questions or, anything like that, things that they've said. Sometimes you do run into other DAYL members as opposing counsel. And so it's kind of nice just knowing them, but also kind of having that level of respect there at the same time. And that's one, but also reiterating that, when you're going through like a job search, sometimes you run into attorneys that are DAYL members that are at the firm, or maybe that are assisting with the interview process. And so it's nice to be able to know them that way, and that they can probably likely speak towards some of your skills and some of personality traits and things like that, and that they know you. Another thing is, yes, the recognition, and I think DAYL is a great way, kind of on top of the networking, that there are so many opportunities to get your name out there, to be a panelist on something like this, or on the women's. I know last year I was a panelist on a pro bono partners committee panel event, or the women's mentoring circles. I was a co-chair last year and ended up being a moderator for an event. And so there's so many different ways, and all these different organizations, there's ways to get your name out there and to interact with other lawyers in the community, not just young lawyers. So that's one. But also, I think I kind of mentioned this earlier, one of the reasons that I keep coming back is I truly do enjoy helping and giving back. And I think that's why a lot of the committees that I am involved in are the community centered organizations. And so I just keep coming back because I like finding these ways, whether it's, pro bono work, or encouraging pro bono work, or even these community events on the weekends with Aid to the Homeless or during the week. And like I said, getting to do those community events, but also getting to do them with your friends is something really special that I keep coming back to. So those are probably my highlights, just on top of everything else that's been said today.
Absolutely, and those are all great examples. Well, I mentioned at the top of this meeting that that a big takeaway from today's panel should be that DOL has a wealth of opportunities for all of you to get involved in your own way, based on your own time commitment. But I hope that you're also walking away with some idea of how DOL can help you both professionally and personally. And so I think I'm going to hand it back to Paige so she can talk a little bit about some upcoming events that we have that might be a good starting point for you to get more involved. But before I do that, I do want to say, and I'm sure I'm echoing the sentiments of everyone in this meeting, please, if you have any questions about anything we said, or you just want more information on how to get involved, feel free to reach out to us. We'll send you in the right direction, and we're happy to help you as you become more and more involved in DOL. We look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thanks, Stephen. You crushed the moderating. I appreciate it. So if anybody does have questions right now, feel free to put them in the chat, or I'm so not Zoom savvy still. If you raise your hand, I don't know how that works, but I think chat would be the easiest and we can answer that. Yes, Sherry, we'll put our email addresses in the chat box. Can somebody put mine in there? ptackett@zell. Thank you. Feel free to contact any one of us individually. Feel free to contact Sherry. Sherry Harris is our executive director. She is Queen Bee and knows everything about DAYL. She's been doing this longer than she would probably care to share, but she is what keeps us afloat. She keeps DAYL in motion. So any questions, of course, can go to Sherry. She knows the answer. Just to let you all know, we do have some upcoming committee meetings. If you're interested in showing up, like I said, that's really all it takes, just showing up. The solo and small firm committee is meeting next Wednesday. That's a really popular committee. There's a lot of involvement on that committee, and there's some great attorneys who are really involved on that committee. If you work in a solo or small firm, I highly recommend you checking out that committee. And like I said, they're meeting next Wednesday. Membership committee, we are meeting on Monday at noon. Trial Skills Bootcamp, what Haley was talking about, they are meeting next Friday. Is it next Friday, Sherry? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
I think tomorrow. They're meeting tomorrow. Thank you, Haley. If you want to hop on that meeting. Animal Welfare Committee is meeting next Thursday. The social committee is meeting next Tuesday, and I believe the Bolton Ball committee is having a meeting coming up soon too. All of this information, just so you know, all of this information is in the weekly brief. There are articles, there's information about upcoming events and programming, and then there's information specifically about when committees are meeting. So be sure to check out the weekly brief. And like I said, you can just sign up directly from there. And just check us out, see what we have to say and what we have to offer. And if you're interested in coming, like Nicole said, we're still not 100% sure on next steps regarding COVID. Obviously, we miss each other. I miss all of you guys. I just want to hug you. But we're talking about it. We're trying to figure that out. So stay tuned. Right now, we're all virtual, but hopefully not for much longer. And that's really, I don't think, do we have any questions in the chat? I don't think so. Well, you'll hear from all of us from the membership committee, all of you who attended today, you'll get a follow-up email from the membership committee. And again, I speak on behalf of all of the panel and everyone here today. Thank you so much for expressing interest in not only being a member, but being an active member. We need you. This is how this organization thrives, is people like you who really want to step up and get involved. So thank you all for attending, and we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you soon. Bye.